I think just starting from what you vaguely remember of this interaction.
Yeah. I remember that there was an intensity of eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
And I might not be completely accurate because I may be confusing it with other moments of eye contact with Felicita at other points, but my best guess is that there was an intensity of eye contact, and that for me, in my experience, there was a kind of animal quality, like almost aggression there. And I remember feeling like I didn't want to kind of back down from that quality of aggression for the sake of being nice. I wanted to feel it for a while,
And it's like the like animal quality of aggression. Did it feel inside your skin, outside your skin, like from you, from her, from both?
It felt like it was coming from me,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't getting a clear sense of it coming back from her.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't sure what she was feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you feel, like, what indicates to you that it's an animal aggressive feeling?
That's an interesting question. I would say my default answer would be to say that it's to do with the intensity of the eye contact and the kind of unwavering quality of the eye contact, like really just locking my gaze onto her eyes and not wavering. And there's the quality of this, of like out, like kind of almost intentionality of like, yeah.
And then a weird, like, in the weird word realm, like, and again, exactly what you just did makes tons of sense to me.
Yeah.
In that directness, was there any movement? How broad was it?
Bodily movement,
like,
or in the gaze?
In the either, but like in this, like, I'm watching your hands like do this like from you.
The movement thing. Of the gaze, yeah.
And like, for example, as I like imagine that in your physicality and the way I understand words, I'm like, oh, it's like a laser. Or something, like not exactly like that, but in this way where a laser takes up different amount of light space than the moon shadow, like the moonlight. And so wondering, like, how this, like, from you towards gaze, like, how big was it? Was it just the shape of your eyes, or was it smaller or bigger, or did it have movement in it, or was it just like a firm?
I guess it would be about. So you mean to describe the beam, for example? Yeah. Totally. So I guess the sense of locking on kind of captures it, because it was like there was not a beam of light or something, but it was like this. So it was invisible. It didn't have a form to it, but there was a quality of my eyes reaching out and locking onto hers. But there's not a visual form that I can associate that with that. It's just like almost as if my eyes were hands, they could hold her eyes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm. Yeah.
And with that kind of like strength of hands, I just saw
Yeah.
you do. Okay.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
Mm. But there's no visual image there. I can just see her eyes.
Yeah, I'm even thinking of like the way we describe air, where it's definitely invisible material,
Yeah.
and then wondering like, and then how do you describe the invisible, which is a really hard task for everyone.
I wasn't aware of anything in particular in the air between us, just that it was quite clear and open. The way was clear and open for me to lock onto her gaze. There was nothing in the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And then inside the skin, did you notice anything else, either relating to this animal aggression or anything at all?
Yeah, I can feel, thinking back, I can feel there's quite a tone in my muscles, sense of animal aggressive activation. I can feel that as a tonality in my muscles.
And all over, or just some regions?
Yeah, all over, I would say.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my jaw feels a bit stiff. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm quite aware of the front part of my body, from here all the way down the arms and down to about the knees. I'm aware of all of this as feeling more active than the back of my body. Yeah.
And like again, like how more active? What's the difference in the description?
Definitely a lot more active because I feel like I'm orienting toward her. Yeah.
Okay. And again, like a hair is coming out kind of way, or like a more muscle tonality, or something different altogether.
More like the muscle tonality, not the hairs. Different to that. Yeah, kind of an intentionality towards her.
And with this like kind of quality. Like,
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Which is associated with the sense of aggression. Yeah.
Kind of like tense and tightness.
Yeah,
Okay.
tense, but not tight. To me suggests stiff, but not stiff.
Yeah, throw that
Tense,
out.
tense, but dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess for me, tonality or tonicity kind of suggests, muscles that are ready to work. Yeah. But I'm also aware, with this awareness of the front part of my body, I'm also aware, now that I think of it, of a kind of a field of receptivity toward her as well. This sense of activation in the front of my body is also about kind of awareness, which is a vague word, but responsiveness toward her, so that kind of a sense of openness, so that when she moves or has any kind of impulse towards me, that I'm very responsive to that.
Yeah.
But these are quite abstract words.
Yeah.
Trying to nail it down to a sensation.
Or even like, how does the responsiveness feel different than the alert tonality? Like the portion that is responsive. Are there adjectives to describe?
It's as if they're part of the same thing. In the way that a muscle which is active can expand and contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say kind of a quality of strong elasticity.
Yeah.
But elasticity which is strong. It's not like yeah.
And then just to check this, the receptivity area, you said it was more chestal region than the front was activated in the tonality, like as you were describing, like knees kind of, and then the responsive portion of that whole thing, that was more chestal. Is that right?
No, it's the same. It's all from the knees up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And including head or
yeah, including head.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, is there any information about her that you can sense?
Well, I'm very much aware of her eyes. And it's as if as information is coming toward me from her, it's coming from the eyes first and then from the rest of her. Yeah.
And anything, like any description of that information, or is it just really abstract?
I guess I'm just aware of her particularly her arms, coming into my space, coming toward me. It's like the gaze is the primary reality. It's kind of solid, and then as the arms move toward me, that's something that's secondary to her eyes and gaze. So I guess there's a sense of fluidity in her in the movement of her arms. And there's a fluidity in the sense of receptivity or responsiveness to that, but the gaze, by contrast, feels very firm and solid and less fluid. Yeah.
And then, if I have this right, I thought I heard you saying like the aggressive animal was more coming from you, and the information from her was different.
Yeah. So I know that the animal aggression was coming from me, and the information coming from her was not as clear. Yeah, the quality of it I couldn't clearly describe.
And I'm kind of inferring here, and so I'm not sure if I have this right. It sounds like it didn't seem the same as yours, and it was unclear what else was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But somehow I had this sense of just wanting to stay with it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though maybe it wasn't working so well because we weren't having a real exchange, like, because I wasn't necessarily getting something back from her which made sense or was, part of a dialogue, I still just somehow felt locked into this.
And this is super fascinating to me, this wanting to stay locked thing. Do you feel that coming from anywhere, or do you feel that in any way?
Yeah, it does have this frontal animal quality to it, like the hunter. Yeah, like as if there's a kind of midline thing and an impulse forward,
Yeah.
starting from about here and zoop. So orienting through the eyes, locking onto her. You know, like when a cat goes into pounce mode and it's all frontal, it's just, yeah. Yeah. So there was something about that was compelling and made me just feel like I wanted to stay in it.
Compelling of the feeling within yourself?
Yeah.
Okay,
that,
cool.
that just made me stay there, that somehow I couldn't sort of move on from that. Yeah.
And then here, again, as I kind of noticed, but was it about like end of, bottom of ribs again?
Just below the sternum, I'd say.
Cool, okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So there's like, and this upward towards,
Yeah.
so very similar. Of the same material, sort of like animalistic.
Yes.
bouncing,
Yeah.
Receptive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, whilst the front of my body did feel open and receptive to her movement, this was primary. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it did have that quality of being locked into it. Like I couldn't. It wasn't easy to shift out of it. Even though maybe there was not a lot of genuine feedback happening, because I wasn't really getting a clear sense of what was coming from her, but I wasn't shifting out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the unfolding, as you remember it, like
how did we get out of that?
Yeah.
How did we get out of that point? Or
what happened for you next?
Yeah.
In that feeling.
I think, I'm not sure, but I think as we started to vary our body positions in space, that kind of loosened the sense of being locked. So I started to come out of it as our body positions went off center, for example, a bit, or different heights and more variety now in the relative positions of our bodies. Came a loosening of that orientation. Yeah.
And like this orientation then becomes looser, like in terms of it's this like from the center towards orientation that gets looser. Is that the like firm elastic texture that then gets looser?
Well, the firm elastic texture was more in the rest of my body.
Okay.
In the front half of my body. But this was not firm elastic. This was more solid than that. Yeah, it was less elastic.
Cool.
There was a certain rigidity.
And in the kind of metaphor ways, like, are there any material that sort of roughly matches this rigidity? Or like anything in the universe that you could think of that sort of like could help describe?
Well, as I said, that term locked on. Or like I grabbed her eyes with my hands kind of thing and was holding on and not letting go. A material.
But that's actually a perfect description. So so the firm elastics throughout the body, and then the clenched claw hand.
Yeah, I wouldn't say claw. It wasn't a claw. It was less palpably a claw, but more like a. I'm getting images of machinery somehow, but I don't have enough knowledge of trains and
Uh-huh,
boats and
uh-huh,
how things
uh-huh.
like this work, but
Uh-huh.
in that world, it's something which, like when a carriage of a train gets kind of joined to the one in front,
Uh-huh.
and it's very, very firmly
Uh-huh.
locked on, and it's not moving, it's not
Yeah.
going anywhere,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
And then this became looser. This is the thing that became looser.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
As,
the loosening,
mm,
like, if it was a train hitch locking on, then was it still, but like without metal, or was it like something to it? You can throw out what I'm saying. I'm just trying to like.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's hard to describe. So the quality of being locked onto her eyes started to loosen as there was more lateral movement and more up and down, changing of position. I guess just because it destabilized my gaze, which was the source of this rigidity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So as my gaze was destabilized, also this quality of lockedness also became destabilized. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. I'm still searching like for adjectives of like how to describe. For example, like again, so there's a certain rigidity when metal locks into metal in this like hook and knob way.
But that's a metaphor. I mean, it didn't actually
Totally.
feel like that.
Totally.
Yeah, it felt much more organic and almost like a quality of an organic mechanism.
Yeah.
You know, like I was saying about the cat in pounce mode. I mean, pounce mode is a kind of a thing which you can describe, even though it exists on different levels within the organism. It's kind of an informational whole in the sense that, you know, it's like this is something that the cat has in its repertoire, and everything kind of synergizes to create this mode. So it had that quality of something kind of synergistic.
Yeah. Locking in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, for example, my peripheral vision downgrading and my frontal vision upgrading as a simultaneous movement, I imagine.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah.
I think I think what I'm trying to get at is not it's like trying to find the most similar words for the wordless material.
Yeah, okay.
And so I love that you reemphasize it's a metaphor. You know, like that like in my own experience having knowing that some words I like reject hard, and some I'm like kind of like that.
Yeah.
That can come like 2 feet from me, and that's as close as that word can get, and I know no other word that can get closer.
Yeah.
So really like respecting the words you're saying, and just simply looking for like, is there some other
to describe
way?
the quality of
the
this.
loosening? Yeah, like
the
loosening makes sense, but like
okay.
how? So the latching on makes sense as an organic latching on, and like a rather firm way, as with some stiffness, and then also the word loosening makes tons of sense, and I'm looking for the action is clear, and like the parts of your body engaged are clear, and the piece that I'm like, I wonder if there's any other word to describe like then did it become like tissue paper, or then did it like
with the loosening.
What does the loosening
with the loosening
feel like?
Okay.
Or like, how do you describe the invisible loosening?
Okay. There's a lateralizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely something to do with more information coming in from my peripheral vision,
Mm-hmm.
which creates a sensation of lateralizing of my visual field.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, if anything, more softness, more quality of softness compared with the rigidity, like not super soft, but softer. Yeah. And not so much density. Yeah, less dense.
Cool.
I'm just thinking of opposites of what it was.
No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, more
has
soft,
more,
less dense. Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah.
Is there a word for less dense? Escapes me.
More porous.
Yeah, more porous in a way. Yeah.
Like opaque versus.
And more fluidity. Less rigidity, more fluidity. Yeah.
Cool. And then going from this moment, so there's already this like lateralizing thing happening, and just checking in here, it like so it like was becoming broader in a lateral sense, but not necessarily up and down.
No.
Bigger. Okay.
No.
Cool. Super. That's really specific.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But a lot of my awareness of the loosening and the shifting out of it is about what it was not, because my awareness is very much of what it was, and then it's getting less that. Yeah.
But it's really great. It's so cool. And then just wondering from there, the next thing that you remember.
It's less clear. I guess maybe a little bit of relief when it was less intense. Yeah, like but with that diminishing of intensity and that relief, there was also less of a sense of connection with her, even though the connection was not comfortable or pleasant. There was less of a sense of connection. Yeah.
And then, do you have any information, like, in terms of, like, for example, in the beginning of, like, okay, she's not your same aggressive animal, but she's some other unreadable something, like, information about her?
Yeah.
And did any of the information about her ever shift as you went along?
No, I don't have a clear sense of the quality of the information, but maybe that I became more receptive to her. uh, when I was locked on with the gaze, there was a sense of her as more of an object. And then as I loosened out of that, I was not experiencing her as an object, as prey, so much. I was more experiencing her as a field of movement. So it was less about her eyes and objectifying gaze, but it was more like her overall field of movement, which comes with the lateralizing as well. Yeah. But there was less of a sense of her as a person as well. Yeah. She was more a field of movement.
Yeah. And then as that corresponds to like your inside you sensations, they still match the description you're in terms of like this center focus tonality into like a softening, lateralizing.
Yeah. So yeah, what softened and loosened the most was the gaze and the frontal orientation and moving into that lateral. Like the tonicity in my muscles was less of a distinct change. Like it certainly became softer, but yeah. And maybe there was some kind of maneuver whereby I was locked onto her with the gaze. I wasn't getting clear information back, and maybe that was a part of shifting into the different experience of her, because I wasn't getting clear information. So I shifted into this awareness of her as a field of movement and less of a person, because I wasn't getting a clear sense of her. So I shifted into a different perception of her.
And this like shift between like this prey to a field of movement, like can you identify any feeling inside of yourself that corresponds to that change happening? Like did you have a thought? Did you have
It was really that shift from the frontal to the lateral. I think that's really the most central thing in my awareness.
Yeah. And again, like the tempo at which that switch happened was like
it was a gradual loosening, because it loosened as our movement became more diverse and different planes, different heights, different angles. So that loosening happened progressively with that. Yeah.
And do you remember these? Like, did you have the thought like she's a prey and then now she's a field of movement, or are these like hindsight kind of?
No, I didn't have any of these thoughts.
Great.
No.
Okay.
No.
Awesome. I think that's actually cool for me. I mean, like anything you want to add to it.
I think the only point at which I had a thought as such was when I realized that it was uncomfortable, and I thought, I'm going to stick with it anyway. I'm not going to back down just to be nice. That was a thought that I had.
And again, like in an abstract way, or in like a pretty clear, like in a spectrum of from clarity to abstract?
It was not particularly abstract. I felt it.
Yeah.
I felt like this feels a bit too aggressive, but I'm just going to stay with it. And it was a palpable feeling of that. Yeah.
And then the thought occurring, like, was it a thought that you felt inside of yourself or outside of yourself, or like what region did you feel inside of yourself?
I felt it very much in myself, and identified with that same kind of area.
Center line.
Yeah, center line. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Somehow that thought was associated with that center line, because it was kind of like an identification, like in a palpable way though. Like I'm staying here. Yeah. Yeah.
And then like, one last question emerges from this portion where I like there's a like, how do you know that it's it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Because how do I know that it's uncomfortable for me? It's connected with, or it has something to do with the fact that I'm not getting clear information from her, but I'm trying to describe the actual feeling associated with that.
Yeah.
Hmm. There's a lack of continuity, like I can feel what I'm feeling, but I'm not feeling something coming back from her that feels continuous with that.
Uh-huh.
So like shining a torch into a black hole. Which is quite an abstract way to describe it, but there is an image there. It's like I'm shining a torch in, but it's not bouncing off of anything, so therefore I'm not getting anything back.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a sense of like it's like this but not this. Yeah.
And this like that, like, so as I understand it now, and I'm not sure if I have this right, is like there's like the pouncing animal gaze, like organic gripping, latching onto her, and then this like is happening also at the same time.
A bit after, like at first there's just an awareness of that, but then as I'm not getting information coming back which is clear or which is continuous, then the sense of yeah.
And is that directional? Like, is it going from you or from her, from both?
From me to her, but it's like throwing a stone into the water and not hearing the sound of it hitting the bottom or something.
Well, the experience totally makes sense. The metaphors are like, I'm like, yeah, totally. And even like this is the thing where I'm like, okay, so is this like out? Is it just outside of your skin towards her, or does it also? Do you also feel it inside of your skin? Does it go all the way to her? Does it just go a bit?
So it kind of like the direction of the impulse or the sensation, whatever it is, the thing that I can feel, comes out of me, and it kind of contacts her, the front of her, like her face and upper chest, I guess. And then it kind of dissipates, like light scattering in random directions. So spatially, it starts in me, it comes towards her, and then when it hits her face, chest area, it just kind of dissipates. Yeah.
Totally. And then where does it start in you?
Just around the sternum area. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then there's like one more thing here. Like, all of this makes super sense to me. It's really clear. And there's something that I'm like, kind of an eternal like question for myself, where I'm like, the same exact like or not the same exact, but like extremely similar situations can happen where, for example, like using the same metaphor of like dropping a stone into a well or something, or, and the response to it can be really varied, of like nervous confusion or like wonder and awe, just as two examples of like kind of very different feelings, things. And I very personally have the experience that like some things are uncomfortable, but I'm like wondering like how do I know that I even before it's conscious that it's uncomfortable, because it's not necessarily like I know it's related to this thing, but like a bumpy road is not always uncomfortable. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. What indicates to me that I'm in discomfort?
So I'm really trying hard to evoke actual sensations. It's kind of hard work. I mean, it's fine. Like I don't mind, but that's just why I'm taking time, because I'm really trying to find sensations.
No worries, yeah.
There is a kind of fuzzy, churned up feeling along the front of my, my chest and front of my arms. A fuzzy, churned up feeling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And does it go to the back or
no, very much in the front. Yes. Yeah.
And like depth wise, like how shallow or deep of the front?
Yeah, so it goes, I guess if my arms had a midline, it would go to the midline of my arms. Yeah.
And the same with chest or different than the chest? Through this?
In the part of my chest that consists of everything before you get to organs. So I'm not feeling it in my heart.
Yeah.
I just, muscles, fascia, skin, bone, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not deeply churned up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's as if there's this kind of social interaction zone or something in the front part of arms, and because everybody in the interviews, we've been noticing this, everybody always talks about this. Yeah.
And is there a rhythm to the churning? Like how fast is it, or slow, or like consistent or chaotic?
Fairly slow. It's neither fast nor slow, but I guess kind of
yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And also associated with the discomfort is a sense of lack of a clear picture. So a lot of details kind of flying outward. So, if an organized, clear picture looked like something like this, that's in front of me and it's clear and it has a form and I know what it is, the opposite movement is as if the information is kind of just scattering out towards the peripheries and I can't make sense of it. So on a kind of visual level, that's what it looks like. the discomfort, and it feels like having this shape and this churning fuzzy quality. Yeah.
And is this visual
Scattering.
flying out?
Yeah.
Is it like I hear similarity in the way that it sounds like it then reflects off of her and the light scatters. Is it of that, or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like a slightly different thing? I don't know what to call it.
Oh, right,
Like,
right,
is
right.
it the same thing, but like taking out the space, or is it like a little different phenomenon happening?
Good question. I would say they overlap.
Cool.
They're not exactly the same thing, but there's some overlap. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Which is what we've been finding in some of the practice interviews I've been doing in terms of sensory modalities overlapping.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.